October 13th, 2015, regular meeting of the Troy Planning Commission. Copies of the agenda for tonight's meeting are available at the entrance to the room. Additionally, the agendas and minutes of prior meetings are available on the city's website. The meeting will be conducted in accordance with the agenda as presented or amended by the Planning Commission. The roles and responsibilities of the Planning Commission are outlined on the reverse side of tonight's agenda. State law establishes planning commissions. The commission is comprised of 9 members, all of whom have volunteered to serve. Members are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by city council. The other individuals seated at the table this evening are representatives of the city's planning department, the city attorney's office, and the city's planning consultant, Carlisle Workman Associates. If you wish to address the planning commission, please come forward when recognized and provide your name and address on the sign-in sheet. Please begin remarks by stating your name for the benefit of the commissioners. All remarks are to be addressed to the planning commission and not to anyone else in the room. At this time, I ask that all cell phones, Blackberries, PDAs, or any other devices that may interrupt this meeting be placed either in silent mode or be turned off. Ms. Zarnicki, the roll call, please.
Mr. Abnedian? Ms. Cruz? Here. Mr. Edmonds?
Here.
Mr. Faison?
Here.
Mr. Hudson?
Here.
Mr. Krent?
Here.
Ms. Krupa? Mr. Zanzika?
Here.
Mr. Tagle?
Here.
Quorum present. The next item is number 2, the approval of the agenda. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Ms. Cruz, and seconded by Mr. Tagle.
Ms. Cruz? Yes. Mr. Edmonds?
Yes.
Mr. Faison?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Krent?
Yes.
Mr. Zanzika?
Yes.
Mr. Tagle?
Yes.
Item number 3 is public comment for items not on the agenda. Seeing no one in the audience, we'll move on to item number 5. Preliminary site plan review. Proposed DTE aerial substation south of Maple, east of Doyle, parcel 882031-226-029, section 31, currently zoned IB, Integrated Industrial and Business District. Mr. Savinan?
Yes. Before you is an email from City Attorney Lori Bloom. It's two-sided. There's the email portion and then there's an attachment attached as part of the email. And this is pertaining to the DTE aerial substation that was on the agenda this evening. And we are recommending postponement. And I don't want to get too much into the application because the applicant is not here this evening. So if you have, I don't think it's really fair to jump into this without having representation from the applicant. But basically, an assumption that we had related to construction access for the site. We got some information that changed at the last moment, and it affects the site. Basically, long story short. So we got this email and this information at 1:49 p.m. today, and the city needs some time to digest this information and kind of address it prior to going before the Planning Commission for a decision. So we felt it was appropriate to postpone it. We've communicated with the applicant who understands and knows where we're coming from. So we're recommending postponement this evening.
Okay. Is there a motion to postpone this item, please?
So
Mr. Krent.
I'll move to postpone.
And seconded by Mr. Zanzika.
Mr. Faison?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Krent?
Yes.
Mr. Zanzika?
Yes.
Mr. Tagle?
Yes.
Ms. Cruz? Yes. Mr. Edmonds?
I'm sorry, I skipped the approval of last meeting to minutes. So let's go back to that.
Did you want to vote? You got to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, excuse me. Let's go back to the minutes, number 3 of September 22nd, 2015 meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Mr. Hudson?
I'll second.
Mr. Trent?
Mr. Edmonds?
Yes.
Mr. Faison?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Krent?
Yes.
Mr. Zanzika?
Yes.
Mr. Tagle?
Yes.
Ms. Cruz? Yes.
Item number 6 is the master plan update. Is that going to be you or Mr.?
We'll tag team this.
Okay.
So if this looks familiar, it was on the screen last night. And as I indicated, the next milestone in the master plan process is to provide a complete draft of the document to the planning commission. So we intend to have a complete draft in your hands prior to the meeting, the next meeting on the 27th. So that's the next milestone, and then we've got we're going to schedule a joint meeting of planning commission and city council November 23rd
For this purpose.
for the purpose to discuss this plan.
Before things.
Yes.
That is correct.
It is before Thanksgiving, yes, right.
It's the
It's a Monday night.
Monday before Thanksgiving.
What better way to celebrate Thanksgiving than to have the document in our hands? I can't think of anything.
Right. And we might even have turkey. Okay.
So, if there's any questions about the schedule? So basically, once the planning commission approves the draft copy, it's mandated by state law that there's a 63-day waiting period. Why 63 and not 60 or 64? I don't know, but that's law. So it kind of puts it on hold for a while we submit it to all surrounding communities, SEMCOG and the county. The county does review it and makes comments on it. And then ultimately, we plan to have it adopted in March.
Can I add one thing? So you will receive the final draft prior to us meeting next month. So I want to kind of give you a quick update in terms of what you're actually going to be receiving, because I know this has been a little bit longer process than we had all hoped and envisioned. One of the things that we struggled with, and what kind of took us a little while to bring the final draft to the planning commission, was the 5-year, the existing master plan you have is still very, very relevant. We went through it 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and it's still very relevant and very applicable to the situation you have in Troy. We all felt that there were certain areas, though, however, that needed to be updated, and some that need to be more fleshed out in terms of our recommendation and strategies. And those are the 4 areas that we focused on, which was Maple Road, Rochester Road, North Troy, and Big Beaver pedestrian issues. In addition to that, we realized that when we had drafted this originally, we are in a much different economic climate than what we are now. And that really pertains to some of the demographic issues in housing. So we've also updated that in addition to the other 4 sections. What we struggled with was, how do we incorporate those changes into the master plan, and how do we put that and kind of meld those two together. So that was a constant discussion between our office, city manager's office, Mr. Salvadon, et cetera. Where we ended up landing, we think this is going to be the most prudent way to do this, is we're going to keep your master plan as is. However, what the update will be an appendix to that master plan with these updated plans, with including the updated housing information and demographics and the 4 special area plans. So the existing document will stay as is, but this will be an appendix and update to that plan. So what you will be sent is the actual final draft of the plan, which is the appendix to the existing master plan. It will still be essentially almost a standalone document, but it will really be a supplement and appendix to the existing master plan.
Is that
Okay.
typical with
It's typically, it's
cities do that?
you can do it either way. Because we were not doing a complete overhaul of your master plan, it will read better, and it will be easier to implement and use moving forward.
So the amendment will not be necessarily a standalone document, it'll just be an appendix or something?
It can be used as a standalone. The point is, it can be used as a standalone document, especially for those 4 areas that were of importance that we wrote. But in the end, ultimately, it is an appendix to your adopted master plan in 2008? 2008, that's right. Yes.
Okay, so let me try and understand this. When you say you're going to put an appendix to the overall grand master plan, does that mean that when I go to read it, I'm going to the appendix, and then it's going to reference me to another part of the master plan, and I'm going to be doing this flipping back and forth?
No, it'll essentially be, you could take what we're calling the appendix, you could take that, and it's almost a separate document that can be read in its entirety, which you don't need to cross-reference to the existing master plan. And the point is to standalone those 4 special areas, to standalone as its own separate plan, but it has to be incorporated as part of the ultimate master plan itself.
So,
I'm thinking of like a trust document with an amendment and restatement. Is that what you're getting here?
That's the impression I got also, Karen.
Okay.
Let's do this. When we present it, if you don't like it, we'll change it.
I like that.
But it's your document, it's the city's document. If, and it's hard to wrap our hands around it because we haven't seen it. If the format is confusing, or you think it reads like an appendix and it reads like it's hidden, we'll fix it.
I can envision that, it would be administratively burdensome to go back and totally rewrite the 2008 update with all the new things in
And
it.
that's why this is easier, as I said, easier for administrative, easier to read and easier to actually ultimately implement. There will be an introduction that clearly that clearly explains why we're doing it this way and kind of introduces the entire
Oh, okay.
appendix. So in some sense, it will act as if it's a standalone document.
And this is a challenge for every revision, because we, staff, plan commission, felt that the plan was in such good shape, and the structure of the plan, the way it reads, and the way it flows, it reads like a book, like an interesting book. We thought we'd keep that, it didn't need overhauling, and how do you take these relatively significant sections and seamlessly put them in the document? So we felt this approach is going to work the best, given that it's an amendment and not a complete overhaul. But we'll present it and see what you think of it. It's hard to kind of wrap your hands around it without seeing it.
Just one question. So
What is that?
are we going to be approving the appendix, or are we approving the 2008 plan again and the appendix?
You will be approving the appendix
Okay.
to the master plan. 2008 will stand alone.
But, and just for clarification, I think you said this a couple of times, there's going to be things in the 2008 plan that are not in the appendix?
Yes.
Because those things are going to be unchanged from the 2008 plan? Okay.
Mr. Hudson?
Two things. First comment, if we're doing quote unquote an appendix, whatever label you want to put on that, are these going to be those items in the appendix, they're going to be solely separate from our master plan? So that if some developer comes in or somebody wants to take a look at something, they don't have to worry about looking at the master plan because anything in the appendix is new and will not affect what's in the master plan?
Well, remember the appendix, we're not updating the whole plan. We're
Oh, I
updating really
understand
those
that.
4 focus areas. So yes, if you're doing work in those 4 focus areas, you would need to you would need to read the appendix for those special area plans that we did.
So nothing in the master plan as we've got it now will be affected by the appendix? I guess what I'm trying to say, when you amend a plan, let me speak like a lawyer now. When you amend a trust or you do a codicil or amendment to a will, the simplest way of doing it is to delete, let's say, paragraph 2.3A in its entirety, and then you restate what that paragraph is. What I'm gathering from the appendix is we're going to have the original paragraph there, and we're going to have the appendix, which may or may not touch on that, but how are you going to know? Without looking at the master plan to see if it does not modify something in the master plan.
And then going forward, if we're going to review the master plan on an ongoing and regular basis instead of in 5-year or 3-year intervals, are we going to then have an appendix after an appendix after an appendix? Do you see where I'm
So-
going with this?
Other than the housing and demographics, which will be updated, there is nothing in the appendix master plan that would contradict what's in the existing master plan. It's a much more detailed, robust part of the existing master plan.
Okay, if you're going to update the housing
Yes.
portion of it, shouldn't there be some reference then in that to the master plan? If it's updating it, what is being tossed out or modified?
We've still referenced the existing master plan in the appendix.
Well, I say, we got a master plan, I'll take a look for it, but you're going to focus them on some area in the master plan, in the appendix, if it's going to modify something in the master plan?
I do not believe so. I do not believe so. Let's show it to you first.
Okay.
And then we can go into these questions about how we actually.
Okay, now I got a second thing
Okay.
here. During this review of the master plan, we spent some time and we mentioned it last night, and like Yogi Berra said, it's deja vu all over again. But we talked about modifying on the Beaver Corridor, that area to require a two-story mixed use or whatever instead of making one-story requirement. Does the appendix deal with that? Because we talked about a moratorium in passing last night. But if we've already decided maybe we should do that, why wouldn't that not be in the master plan or on the index?
One,
Can I?
we're,
You ready?
yeah,
Go ahead.
we're gonna get there. That was our next, that was a segment discussion here. So jump done.
Well, I can wait.
The short answer is we don't need to, because the master plan already talks about that exact same concept. That's the short answer.
What's a long one?
The long one is, do you wanna get into the long one? Or do you
I'd
wanna,
like to hear the long one.
finish this out, and then, because that was the second part of our discussion.
Yeah, we're gonna dovetail into last night's conversation and talk in
Well, you want to do
more
it a little later
detail.
then instead of right now?
That's fine.
Whatever, you're the chairman.
Well, why don't we just wait till later? Let's take care of this now.
So, sorry to confuse everyone, you'll get the appendix, the standalone document, you'll get that prior to next meeting, and we can go into these details and discuss how the layout and how it incorporates with the existing master plan.
You got to call it a supplement instead of an appendix.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not
Okay.
bad.
Going back to something that Karen said, the comment was made last night that we need to look at this document more regularly than every 5 years.
Right.
And I agree with that. Because I think it was the first comprehensive rewrite in, geez, I forget the count, 40 years, plus or minus. So it was a dramatic change from a policies perspective. We went from a document that controlled growth to a document that was attempting to encourage redevelopment and reinvestment. So it was a complete paradigm shift. So it was, because of its significance, we needed time to kind of see how it played out. And as it turns out, it's still valid for the most part, and has done very well. That being said, there's some things we have to modify, and moving forward on a regular basis, there's gonna be things that come up that we're gonna modify. So to your point about the supplement versus